Hello and welcome to our webinar. My name is Misha Sakharov. I'm a founder of Sakharov Integrative Health and a creator of Sakharov Protocol. I would like to tell you what our webinar is about, what it consists of. And it consists of 5 chapters. The first chapter will tell you a little story about why it's very important to look for and to understand how the alternative approaches for healing brain tumor, aggressive brain tumor works, and what is the difference from conventional therapies. It's very crucial chapter. And the second chapter will answer the question, what are we doing on those alternative approaches? What are they working? What are they using? What kind of tools? The third chapter will tell you about the results that we reached until now and the testimonials from some of the people on our intensive program. The fourth chapter will tell you a little bit, will unfold basically what we are doing practically in our intensive program. We will go a little bit into depth with understanding what we are doing. And the fifth chapter will uncover whether or not it is doable for you and whether or not it's a good idea for you to join our intensive program. So basically, because we have some admission rules. So let's start with the most important question. And this is a question, why? Always. So why do we need to follow alternative approaches and to research them and to basically understand how they're working? Well, first and foremost, because conventional approaches like chemoradiation and surgery, they did not show very good improvement in survival rates of the people diagnosed with aggressive brain tumors during the last 40 years, despite a lot of money invested in the research. And it shows basically that this direction has some fallacy into it. And why would it be like that? Well, because conventional approaches treat cancer by killing the cancer, basically removing the symptoms. And the symptoms is a tumor. They are not looking at the real triggers of the disease. They are not looking at the real causes of the disease. And this is a very problematic thing because many different pieces of scientific research shows that those highly invasive methods, they trigger more survivability of the most aggressive cells, and also like cancer stem cells. They not only survive, but the tumor can go down in the course of chemotherapy or radiation, but basically the amount of the stem cells can be doubled, and then they explode. That's why we always have a recurrency in very aggressive brain tumors. And this is a very big problem. Another very big problem is something called oncotaxis. And oncotaxis, it's when the invasive methods basically trigger a new behavior of a cancer cell. It starts behaving as an immune cell. It goes towards the inflammation, and then it travels around the body. That's what creates metastasis. We don't want this. So what do? We create an alternative approach. So what do? We are not killing the cancer, but we're trying to understand the message that cancer is trying to give us. And by understanding the message, we start healing the cancer by addressing the causes and not killing the symptoms. And the causes are always in the environment. Cancer is a multifactorial syndrome. It's not a disease. It's not a single factor disease. It's a multifactorial syndrome. And that means that is basically a metabolic syndrome. Metabolic means that there's a disease of the environment. We have to change the environment in order to stop cancer cells from proliferating and normal cells mutating to cancer cells. And that's exactly what we are doing by combining different areas of cell metabolism, by normalizing cell metabolism, normalizing oxygenation levels, measurable. We can measure it. That's what we learn. And then we optimize nutrition, flow. We optimize signaling. We optimize the physical structure of the cell. That's what we are doing. That's why we have reached basically very good results right now. That's why I want to congratulate you with the fact that you are already here. You are listening to this, and you have been inquisitive enough to research on the Dr. Google and find our site. It's already a very important step, because I believe very much in the power of education instead of medication. And you are just about embarking on this path. Congratulations. So let's now talk about what we are actually doing. Because we need to have a plan. When we have big visions, big tasks, we need to have a plan and we need to stick to it. So the plan is called Sakharov Protocol. And as a creator of a protocol, I can also explain how it works. Basically, if you imagine a five-pointed star, so this plane connecting those two dots, it's how we get the energy inside of our body. And this is basically acquisition of energy. And how do we get energy? We have it by eating and by breathing, basically into the mouth and into the nose. And we can optimize both. So the next 3 points in the star, this plane, that's the acquisition of energy, and then we have a head and both feet. We call it a triangle, or a resilience triangle. It's a resilience, and we can optimize the resilience. Mental resilience, physical resilience, and immune resilience. Those two legs. And then we have a lot of different interactions and interconnections between all those 5 aspects. That's basically how we address the full range of human physiology. And if we establish a process where we can train all of those things, connected with sleep, connected with project management to avoid procrastination, doing the exercise, then we basically covered the whole thing. So what does it mean when we connect those 5 points together? It basically means that we can stop some aspects in the environment, cellular environment, that cause the disease. They are the causes. And when we're talking about the environment, what is basically the environment? What does it mean? Well, the environment means the environment of the cell. And yes, we can change our human environment. We thrive or not thriving in. And by changing our environment, we change the environment of the cell, which is the same aspects as for us humans, for the whole picture. Every cell needs good levels of oxygenation, needs acquisition of good levels of nutrients, both micronutrients and macronutrients, vitamins, minerals. Then we need, and this is energy acquisition. Then this is an environment. And then we need a good flow of fluid, because what is the flow? Flow is immunity, basically. It's also the ability to transfer signals through the media, through the fluid that is around a cell through the cellular wall. So it's a flow of fluid. It's the ability to transfer signals, and that's called signaling. This is an environment. And then we also have a cellular structure, physical structure. We call it extracellular matrix. And this also can be optimized. What happens when we optimize those aspects? It's a very important question, because by answering the question, we basically understand why we can reverse cancer. Well, because when we optimize those aspects, we stop several very, very crucial aspects of cancer. The first one is chronic inflammation. What is chronic inflammation? Basically, it's an inflammation in the cellular wall and also in the wall of the mitochondria inside of the cell. That are the batteries that produce energy. Inside of the big cell, we have those small mitochondria. And we have up to, depending on what kind of cells, we have up to 4,000 of those mitochondria in our cells. And when we optimize energy production, what do you think happens? Well, we diminish inflammation, we diminish amount of toxins that are byproducts of energy production inside of the cell. We basically optimize the whole environment by doing this. How do we do this? Well, we diminish inflammation by normalizing the nutrition, normalizing breathing, diminishing levels of glucose in the blood. All of those things are measurable. And then, how do we change breathing? If we change our breathing in our environment as humans, we also change oxygenation inside of the cell, because they are connected together and they are interdependent. And that is possible to do through exercise that we are going to talk about afterwards. Those aspects will diminish inflammation very much. And then we can also change the source of energy input into the cell from the glucose as the main one to ketones. Also, brain cells can do that. They can make this transition, shifting from glucose to ketone bodies, which is basically using fat as a preferred source for energy. 95% of body cells can do this shift. Cancer cells cannot. And this is one of the cornerstones of what we are doing. When normal cells make this transition, they diminish inflammation, they diminish production of toxins, lactic acid, and some other things that promote inflammation. And the cancer cells cannot do this because they are not metabolically flexible. Their mechanism of energy production is impaired. They can only be dependent on the stuff like glucose, glutamine, lactic acid, and some other stuff. And we are diminishing that. So we diminish rates of proliferation of cancer. That's how we do this. And then by using breathing optimization, we also stop hyperventilation. And this is another very, very important cornerstone of what we are doing. Because hyperventilation, and that is when we are breathing, when our breathing is dysfunctional, when we are breathing through the mouth, when we have high levels of air hunger all the time, we overbreathe all the time. Basically what happens, and it's a paradox, it's also called Bohr effect, by the name of a Danish scientist that discovered this effect. His name was Christian Bohr in 1904. When we overbreathe, when we hyperventilate, we get more oxygen into our blood but we get less oxygen from the blood to the cells. It sounds crazy. We are breathing more and we are getting less oxygen to the cells for our energy production. That's basically what is happening. People that have cancer are overbreathing in such extent that they are passing through the lungs amounts of air that are 3 to 10 times more than normal. And that creates an environment for the brain cells also that is virtually oxygen deprived environment. And that's exactly the environment that cancer loves. That's exactly the environment where cancer cells thrive in. So when we reverse this situation, we reverse the environment of the cells, we can manage to reverse the course of this multifactorial syndrome cancer is. That's exactly what we are doing on our intensive programs. Now let's talk about the results, because that's what matters, right? That's why you're here. So I'm very happy working with what I'm doing on an everyday basis, because there's around 230,000 people dying for the disease like tumors of central nervous system. It's many people, it's many lives. And I really wanted to do something. I really wanted to show that there is hope for those people. I started working with the brain tumors 7 years ago because basically one of my friends, he got a glioblastoma multiforme, grade 4. And we worked 2 years reversing the tumor, and it was a great success. And you can learn much more about this case on my site. There's a lot of information. And then I tried working with different kinds of diseases. I tried to working with blood cancers like leukemias with very good success. Then I tried to work with neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's with great success. And I understood that those really are diseases of environment, because that's the same environment of the brain. It's just a little bit different way our cells react on a dysfunctional environment. Some human DNA pushes towards cancer, uncontrolled division of the cells. Some of the human DNA pushes towards neurodegeneration. And that is because neurons can degenerate and die. And the glia cells, helper cells to neurons, they are very flexible. We call it high levels of metabolic flexibility. They can survive by changing the way of nutrition and living and functioning. So, and I understood basically that those two kinds of diseases of the brain are triggered by the same dysfunctional environment. And then I decided to do the most complicated thing, and also the thing where I think it was really need for innovative approach like ours. That's the area of the most aggressive brain tumors. That's why we started this intensive program in October 2018. And I'm very happy to announce that we have already now, after half a year, very good stories on this short amount of months. Some of them were 6 months through the program, some have been 3 or 4 months, but we have fantastic results. And right now, I want you guys to present some of the people from our intensive program will talk about their experience.
They gave me a diagnosis of glioblastoma multiforme, which is a high-grade brain tumor. It's pretty much deadly. They've got no cure for it. She said, well, we can't guarantee you'll live beyond a year, basically. There's no guarantee in our statistical data that you will survive. So I said, what's the point of me doing this if I'm not going to live? So fortunately, I went to a cancer conference a couple of months, but I think in September 2000, where are we now, 2018, and I met Misha there. He said, you should try this and you should try that. So we got in contact and I messaged him saying, so I've had a regrowth, a reoccurrence of brain tumor, and I'd like your help.
My name is Riina Roosalu, and I am from Estonia. I have a brain tumor. And my brain tumor is called oligodendroglioma, and it is now like third/fourth grade.
It's about 1 year ago she was diagnosed with this glioblastoma tumor and had never had any problems with the health before. And suddenly she couldn't even speak.
When they delivered the diagnosis that Glenn now has a grade 4 inoperable glioblastoma brain tumor.
Yeah, well, I mean, the expected lifespan of someone with that diagnosis is about 15 months. So I thought, yeah, I want to live longer than that. So, yeah, I pretty much went on the hunt, and yeah, it took a long time. Just, you just Google everything and trying to find other alternative treatments and things that other people have tried.
The alternative treatment that what we have in our life, there is nothing else. My sister's tumor is not it's not operable. You cannot do surgery.
Because he had had radiation not long ago and surgery not long ago, they didn't want to operate again or radiate again, so they could only offer us palliative chemo. So there's no real suggestion that anything can be done other than to make it ease his journey, I guess, the end of the journey. So there wasn't all that much hope in that respect. But then we spoke to Misha. He was saying maybe he's got people who have cured incurable tumors and things like that. So I saw a lot of promise in that.
My son and I have been doing so much research, trying to find an answer to help ourselves, to take responsibility for this disease. And of course, I came across a webinar by Misha. What really intrigued me was that he really wanted the person not just to get a few years, as the standard of care tries to increase your lifespan by years. He wanted everyone to get their life back.
Hossein found some considerable material about Misha, and he told me about it. He said that there is this man who's already working on GBMs, and apparently he's got good results. My first impression was that this guy is serious. He means business.
Same now.
you know the serious, stolid Russian people, right? We know that in some occasions he needs to wake up quite early in the morning, and he does that.
Yeah.
That means he cares about his clients.
Yeah. Wakes up at 5 every day to talk to us all the way in New Zealand.
Well, first of all, what attracted me was it was a system of self-help. And I'm always looking to see what I can do. The way most diseases are handled, you end up being completely dependent on healthcare professionals, laboratory people, and so on. And it makes you feel worse and worse if you can't do something. We live in a world of specialists, And Misha used to be a specialist as a telecom engineer. But he's really a generalist. He has many different qualities and interests. And his skill and special talent is to bring those diverse elements together, from martial arts training, from competitive tennis, from a high level of fitness, from being a musician, and exploring his particular interest in how the body works. All of that is so helpful. When you hear the term integrative health, it has to include these diverse elements.
You see a lot of different things out there on the internet. Misha's one seemed like it was very comprehensive and very complete on what the sort of treatment he was offering. It was like a multi-pronged approach, rather than just trying, one or two things. It's very, very complete, I think. Yeah, I mean, he's very approachable. He's very, very open and honest about, his methods. And
Misha is very good at explaining things in particular. I think that's the one thing me personally I've found very easy is it's not something that I can't understand or something that I can't follow.
Misha's knowledge and Misha's commitment and Misha's different areas what he can guide you in, they give you a huge amount of support. And you start to feel that you are on the right track. Like perhaps first time during my journey with cancer, I feel that I'm doing the right thing. And also that I have a support, because support is something which is not easy to find. If you don't want to take conventional medicine, if you don't want to take like operation, radiation, and so on, then it is very, very difficult to find support.
Once we got into the boot camp, I was really intrigued about Misha's integrity. And you could really tell that he cared a lot about helping everyone. So much so that he lived the lifestyle himself, and he doesn't have the disease, so he doesn't really need to do that, but he is investing in his own health. And so anyone who does that, must really believe in what he's doing.
I wasn't keen to do any more kind of conventional therapies and was looking for something else to do anyway. And I'd had my eyes on Misha Sakharov protocol through the website. I'd been just interested. Then I saw that he'd done a talk for the children's conference, a children's cancer conference, and that I thought that was really promising, and that was right about when we were looking for help or a new way to go.
Misha has a wonderful thing just to put all these things together. So this approach to my mind is wonderful, is healthy, is smart. Whatever is happening, Misha is here. We might call him anytime. We have this day of time of questions and answers. So, you feel there is a person in this world who cares, really cares what is happening to him. Cares in the way that, let's say, the family.
For us as a family to practice with him, we don't just give him the food and then, I eat whatever I want. I like to do it with him, but it helps me too, helps me to feel stronger. Before we started with Misha, he was sitting around a lot, just playing games, PlayStation and things like that. And he wasn't as active, and I wasn't spending as much time with him. I've enjoyed coaching my son. I've enjoyed working with him, trying to find creative ways to get him to do more exercise and to do the breathing exercises too. It can be a really fun thing. It's not easy, but it can be a fun way to bond together.
Where Glenn may not understand something or may miss something, at least I'm there to explain further, or even just guide him and suggest that he ask the question the next day with the daily hookup with Misha.
Monday to Friday at the same time every day, meeting with people who have the same disease as we are fighting, you become a real tight group, and the support becomes extremely important in your life because it is giving you hope and it's giving you something to work on. You can actually work on something to fight this disease. And, you know, where else can you do that except try this diet or try these supplements? But this was an actual program that was being followed and monitored by someone. I think it's tremendous to be able to work on it. You know, otherwise you're just living with it. With this program, you're working on fighting your own, your disease. I think that's huge.
And especially that kind of support what Misha is offering, which is like continuous support, because you can find consultants which for money give you 1 or 2 consultancies, maybe 3 consultancies, and then they expect you to know it now and do it yourself. And this does not involve the fact that actually you get new questions every day, all the time. When you move on or learn something new, you get different questions than you had yesterday. And tomorrow we'll have new problems and new questions.
I don't think it's like something you could give to someone and say, okay, go away and do that and you'll be fine. The constant contact keeps you involved with it. It's something that'd be easy to just, the fact that we stay in contact and Misha's always looking at your results, helping people and things like that. I think that's a very positive aspect of what we're doing.
It's going like a snowball. It's a lot of information, of new things. And you have to work with your brain as well. Nevertheless, if it is a little bit, you know, hurted, but still, you need to use it. To use.
Everything about it is clear and simple. That doesn't mean it's easy. It does take time to learn, time to integrate, time to practice and train. And that's where there's a particular personal commitment required.
Not only did he stop working, but our whole world kind of turned upside down, and there was no routine or no structure there. And now with the program, it's fantastic. Glenn knows what he's doing each morning, and incorporating the exercises and dietary requirements, all of that. Like it brings Glenn probably a lot more back down to earth.
Mm. When I first came out of hospital, I started on a vegan diet, plant-based, and then after about 3 months, I sort of wasn't getting enough energy. You know, when we came across Misha, and then he tells us that, you know, we should be doing like a keto carnivore. Really been enjoying it, and it's been great.
Energy levels are high, and like Glenn used to nap quite a lot, probably about 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours a day, and now it's next to no naps. Like he definitely rests when he needs to, but it's not for that long by any means.
Started to be a vegan. Plants are all loaded with carbohydrates, and ketogenic should be as free of carbohydrates as possible, especially when you have a tumor. And when I joined Misha's bootcamp, and I was told that I shouldn't keep a food diary. I should eat as much as my body asks. I should drink as much water as my body asks. These things were so new to me.
I think vegan or vegetarian, if anybody who's on a standard Western diet, if they cut out a lot of the stuff that they're eating, are going to feel better. So I initially felt better on vegetarian or vegan, but energy-wise, I had to eat all the time. Everything was about preparing the next meal. even on raw vegan, where you're not cooking food, I was always thinking about the next meal. And that's the truth. I just couldn't maintain energy throughout the day without eating lots and lots of meals. Whereas with this, I was talking to Misha today, at the moment I'm eating 1 meal a day. I know the protocol is to eat 2, but I'm experimenting with just 1, and I feel more energy than ever.
Amazing energy, way more energy. I used to be so tired all the time, and that disappeared.
So I also got down to the weight I had when I was 25. I'm 71 now.
It has impacted my life positively in so many ways. I just can't describe in how many ways, because of it's altogether totally different life now. I didn't know that all the previous life, that my breathing is so bad, that my breathing actually corresponds to a cancer patient breathing. I breathe quickly, I breathe too much, I overventilate at night. These are the facts, but of course nobody told me before. This is only Misha's bootcamp where you see like so many different sides of your disease or your problem. Nobody ever pointed me out that before.
I've also learned how to alter my breathing, diminish breathing before sleeping, and I sleep very, very well, and I wake up spontaneously without an alarm clock, and I feel good in the morning.
I've learned so much. I've evolved. Lots of people are afraid to do that. You know, comfort is one sure way of living. Well, it's not really living, is it?
Saul has definitely improved over the last 4 or 5 months, physically, mentally, emotionally. Our lives have improved, mine and Ruth's. Family life's improved. Everything has got better since we started this course.
You know, and because we're recording that information every day, we can sort of see the progress that we're making.
Sheets, that's your everyday results. And you look at them and you say to yourself, oh, I'm doing good. My results are getting slowly, steps by steps, but they're getting better.
We had a meeting at the Central Hospital about 10 days ago. And the doctors looked at Annie and were very surprised. She was looking very good, and the eyes were shining, and they didn't understand it. But I have told them that we are joining the Sakharov protocol, and I also told them that if we had the knowledge we have today, we wouldn't have doing the radiation, we wouldn't have doing chemo, we would have started immediately with the Sakharov. Yeah, I'm sure if she hadn't joined the protocol, she would be laying in a grave now. I'm quite sure.
Because what we're doing is so out there compared to what ordinary people think about cancer treatment, any kind of verification that you might be on the right path is great on a personal level. You start to think it makes yourself feel good for the other people too. You share that joy.
I've regained stability of the tumour. He said if I reach the 6.5-year mark, I will be the longest survivor of glioblastoma multiforme without treatment. So I'm kind of getting there.
We have the last scan, I think the 10th of March, so it's just recent, and the last scan says that there are no any movements, so there are no negative activity, so the tumor is stable. You know, from October to March, I think it's almost 5 months. No, so it was time just for this tumor to grow or not to grow. So, and it stopped. So, no, for us it was a kind of a huge holiday.
Iranians say without hope you can't live. You can only live if you have hope. So for those who are living in my circumstances, I would like to advise them to fight for their life. That's the only way. Yes.
And I think this protocol gives us that hope because it thinks outside the box. Everyone else kind of just crosses their finger and does the normal thing, standard of care. But think outside the box, do your research, and like Mustafa said, have hope.
There are adults curing so-called incurable tumours, or at least halting their progress and things. So I'm more hopeful, and if I look at it as two pathways, where say we accepted palliative chemo, or we go this way, I think palliative chemo, he may have been dead by now, or be really sick, or it would have, I've already been through the chemo trip and the radiation trip and that. It was really grim. This has been fun, enjoyable. I've enjoyed doing what we're doing. It's in no way, it's a daily task. There's a lot of stuff to do, but it's not a grind. I don't feel bad about it. It feels good. I feel like I'm doing something positive.
I want to live because I've got a family and I want to grow up with my child.
If your life put in such situation that you have to change dramatically, you will change if you have the goal, if you want to live, if you want to feel yourself healthier.
Well, I can tell you that I had fear and panic before. I was pretty much lost. But I can tell that Misha's bootcamp is giving a guidance and it is giving you a route to go. And it's worth taking this route. It gives so much to your health and it gives so much to your immunity and your general body. And this is what is needed to get over this disease, to improve your immunity in like every possible direction. And what are these? These are nutrition, these are breathing, these are exercise, these are thinking and feeling. And these are actually all improved and involved in Misha's bootcamp.
Just do it. You've got nothing to lose. Yeah.
Yeah, literally, just do it.
I believe it's possible through the Misha Sakharov protocol to heal tumours. And the experience has been a very positive one. I would recommend it. And having done all the other things, surgery, radiotherapy, chemo, things like that, I think it's the best option. It's the least harmful. It's the most humane option. And if there's any chance that that this could be a way, we've got to take it.
Just remember that your life is your life. It's not someone else's to take care of. If you don't look after yourself and expect someone else to do it, you may die. If you want to live, you have to really care about your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit. It's a choice, You gotta take that leap of faith. Don't be afraid. It's not the end, and I'm living proof.
So now let's talk a little bit how we actually do it. Because this process is very crucial. It may be that we have, fantastic ideas and fantastic background for doing what we are doing. But how do we actually implement this? Because it needs a strong will, strong understanding, and avoiding procrastinations to establish this strong process of healing. So how do we work? I can tell you that we are learning basic principles during the first 4 weeks. The exercises, how do we do measurement, how do we sleep, how do we eat, how do we do physical exercise, how do we fill our day with work, because it's going to be work. This intensive program for people that want to take responsibility in their own hands for their health. And it implies every day's work. That's exactly why we also have a closed Facebook group where people write their questions every single day from Monday to Friday. And those questions are handled in the Q&As that I have personally every day in 2 time zones. We have people from New Zealand and Australia, that's one time zone. Then we have people from America and different countries of Europe, another time zone. So I have actually 2 Q&A sessions every single day where we answer those questions and we learn from the answers. All of the people on the boot camp are learning at the same time. It's a very intensive process, and I don't think there's something like that is existing other places in the world. I've been working with this an amount of years, and I can see that this is an absolutely unique program we have tailored for people with aggressive brain tumors. And I just want to reiterate that this program is made especially for people with aggressive brain tumors. So we have a lot of fantastic tools available for you that are on our intensive program, like, for example, a searchable database with video answers to most of the most normal questions that we integrated this database during the first 6 months of work on our boot camps. So all the most normal questions that people tend to ask during the first implementation phase, they are all answered in the database. About exercise, about breathing retraining, about eating regimens, what to eat and when, about sleeping patterns, about stress management, which is also a very big part of what we are doing. We also have integrated specially tailored meditations because we need to handle stress on an everyday basis. We also have a special course of stress management that is going over 40 days when people start, because I can see that managing stress is a very, very big part of healing. And it's very concrete and it's also measurable. So about measurements, we also have integrated a special online site where you can log in and you can put your daily measurements. It's a very big part of our process, making it fully measurable. So what I'm basically talking about is that every day you are measuring your blood values, glucose, ketones, urine, you are measuring your automatic breathing patterns, you're measuring your sleep quality, you are assessing the levels of energy, you are assessing or actually writing the amounts of physical exercise and the measurement of each exercise. And then during 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we have automatic graphs that basically can show you already the process of your healing. So this is a very big difference from many other alternatives that are not so many exactly for aggressive brain tumors of central nervous system. That's why we feel that we basically covered all aspects of daily training in order to ensure that you will not fall off the wagon. Because, again, we can have a very good theory behind everything, very good background, we can explain everything, but if we will fail to basically nudge you and help you on an everyday basis to implement what we are teaching, we will fail. And we don't want this. That's why approaching procrastinations, it's a very big part of our course. Approaching management of stress is a very big part of our program. Approaching ups and downs, mentally and physically, are also a very big part of our programs. Approaching all of your smallest aspects that are tend to be misunderstood on everyday basis. It's a very big part of our program because you see the devil is in details, and it's especially valid when we're working with these very serious conditions like brain tumors. So another thing which is very, very crucial, it's family support. All people that are working on our intensive programs have 100% support from the family. It could be parents, it could be a brother or a sister, it could be a friend, because we have all of those combinations covered in our course. So basically we have one big team of me, my helpers, and the people on the course or on the program. And also we have a number of small teams, me and every family. We're working together. Because in this program, we can really tailor the process for every single person. Because yes, we share basically the same DNA. 28.5% of our human DNA is the same. The rest, 1.5%, can be different. But we have also different characters. We have different backgrounds. And those aspects have also a place to be tailored. I mean, we can work with every single person, helping every single person to endure through the process and to make this process as easy as possible. Is this for you or not? We have now pretty vast experience with working with people with aggressive brain tumors. And we would like to help everybody. But unfortunately, we need to have some admission criteria. And we, because we need to ensure that the people that are coming on this intensive program, they can cooperate. They can also work together with other people. Here we have a very good vibe on our program, and we care very much about the people on our program. So we don't have a possibility for people just buying the program. It's closed. It's a closed program. So you have to go through 2 stages of admission, basically. The first stage is an application. And this application is made in form of a questionnaire, a form that you have to fill in. And we are asking the questions. You are just writing the answers. So it's pretty easy to do. And we are looking at those forms every day. So the application process is very smooth and is very fast. So the next stage, when we have assessed your questionnaires, your answers to our questions, your application, we are sending you a confirmation and then an invitation to a personal talk. And this talk with me personally will be online through Zoom or Skype. And we will look at some different aspects of your compatibility with our program and with our program's compatibility with you. So when we know a little bit more about you, then we're gonna follow up very fast, almost immediately after the talk, whether or not you can embark on this journey, whether or not you can join our intensive program. And then you can start. And you can start on a day-to-day basis. So basically, the application procedure is very fast because we want to work with people that are newly diagnosed. That's why. And we are breathing for this work. We love our work. So that's why we are highly inspired by all the people here, and we want to welcome you on the program. That's why the application takes normally the whole process takes about 2 days. So you can start pretty fast. Now, I've talked about 5 different aspects, 5 different chapters that I really wanted you to understand about the Sakharov protocol, about this alternative way of approaching work with aggressive brain tumors. So, 5 things. Number 1, question why. Why is it important? Frankly speaking, because if you don't do anything alternative that actually works, chances are you or your loved one will become a part of the very sad statistical numbers about the tumors of central nervous system. Number 2, it's also a very crucial question. What? We address the cause of cancer so it can no longer thrive in a healthy cell environment. Number 3, that's a crucial one. That's the results. That's a proof that it works. After only a couple of months, we have several cases of tumor growth stagnation, and we also have several cases of major regression of symptoms, where we are still waiting for a confirmation by the scans. So that's the results. Okay, now number 4, and this is also a very, very important question. This is basically how do we implement all of this knowledge into a practically doable program. So we change your lifestyle one little step at a time with no overwhelm by addressing the way you eat, the way you breathe, the way you move, and the way you manage stress. And now to the last one, number 5. Is it for you or is it not? It depends on various factors that we will assess through an application form and a personal conversation. Now, I want to thank you for having watched this, and whatever the outcome, I wish you all the best from the depth of my heart.